For the sake of the recording, we'll call the meeting to order for the Wolcott Community Forest Stewardship Committee. And first item is amendments to the agenda. Is any amendments? We've got, has everybody looked at the agenda already? Roger sent it out a couple of days ago. Actually, okay, so new business covers town barbecue, and Roger, I saw you had some emails about the grand opening or ribbon cutting stuff. So let's talk about that tonight too.
Sure. I have a meeting scheduled for the 21st.
Okay.
And I'll have more information following that. By all understanding from the last discussion I had with Sarah and the legal crew, or the TPL, is that they've got kind of a playbook that they go by. They're doing all the invites. The only things they asked me were just kind of like site prep stuff, to answers to kind of try to shake out a Dennis, but he's on summer break right now and was recently diagnosed with an illness, so he's kind of working through that right now. So I didn't want to like put a lot of pressure about tables and chairs in the closet or anything like that. I'm sure it'll be fine, but if they have to rent tables and chairs, they just want some notice. That was kind of like the only thing that was left in my pile for the short term. The rest of it, they kind of have a party plan ready to go. They're going to put a big tent up, have a few tables. They want to put 50 chairs out. They plan on having invites to, a couple dozen VIPs, of which they said probably 4 or 5 will actually show up. A couple staffers will probably show up. Jordan will probably be expected to have a short speech about the progress. Yeah, as per the responsibility of the chair, blah blah blah. And
weighs heavily sometimes, but I can probably talk for a minute or two.
Yeah, they expect the press to be there. Other than that, related to that, I do have all the signs that the kids painted. They're all like messy and adorable, and the way that kids' art projects generally are. I'm in the process of sealing them. But there's like 100 of them, and I only have one table, so I do about 15 at a time. I do 2 coats, and I think I leave them out for the afternoon. So I'm working around the weather as best I can. I'm probably about 40% through the pile. I'll be done by the end of the month, I'm sure. And then I think I'll put a call out closer to the beginning of the school year to see if I can get not only the new 6th graders, but also the graduated 6th graders to come back and help assemble and place the signs along the trail. Trail should be long since completed by the end of August. So, and it'll be easier to rally the kids once school is started up again, I think, because everyone's all over the place right now. If not, I can make it a long weekend and plant 100 signs if I need to. I'll make my kids help me. It'll be contentious. Be a lot of opinions. But yeah, that should be all set to go. And I meant to speak with Ollie, follow up with him about doing an August ride so we know that the trails are complete, and try to see if we can get some kids that are doing the current bike club to kind of fold over and kind of do a test run on the new trails. So I was going to reach out to him because he might want to get a couple chaperones on board. I haven't talked to him about compensation or anything like that. It hasn't come up yet. But if it does, I'll send an email right away.
Okay.
I don't really know what his expectations are regarding that, but if it's an issue, it's worth talking about, I think.
Could ask parents for donations.
Yeah, I don't think he didn't bring it up before, so I don't think it will. I think the idea is to just create a new, it's just create spark some interest in the new trail system. So it's all about having new trails and that's pretty much my update.
So is it confirmed the date for the celebration?
Yeah, September 13th, with a rain date two weeks after that. If everyone seems pretty like leaning towards rain or shine, to just keep to the original date. But we'll play it there.
Yeah, it's hard to know when, when we get close to the original date, forecasting 2 weeks out could be, it's still kind of 50-50 as to whether forecast is going to be accurate.
Especially these days. But yeah, we'll let them make the call since they're doing the party. I have no problem putting a rain jacket on.
Yeah.
And if conditions aren't optimal for biking, we'll just take a bike. Let's go out for a hike.
Okay, any other amendments to the agenda? Good. That's good. And then next item is approving the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody have any comments on the minutes and the notes? They look good to me. Chair making a motion to approve?
We accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Thanks, Dave Fulton, moved by Dave Fulton,
I second.
seconded by Kate Garvey. Any discussion? Any discussion online, Max? Gabe?
Looks good.
Cool. All those in favor of approving? Aye. Opposed?
Abstention for me, Roger. Thanks.
Cool. Minutes approved. Next item is public comment. We've got an agenda item for site mapping, so
Yeah,
I'd like to.
well, yeah, we've got some wicked weather coming in. Just
Because
for you to,
it's middle of July.
well, because it's, the anniversary, but yeah, literally, I just got a warning, it's 60-mile-an-hour winds and big hail coming in, flooding for, it's like this area, so this should be a short meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Katrina's in orbit, getting all the plants inside and everything.
No, I just had my garden where I wanted
Yeah,
to get level.
yeah, it's gonna get
Is
hit.
it so urgent that we ought to call the meeting?
Well, just be wary of it, we probably shouldn't go to 8.
Yeah. Okay, well.
I text my wife, see if she'll cover some things up.
Okay, well, next item is trail building update. I can tell you, I've been out on the trails. They're definitely making progress. A week ago, I talked to Brooke. There was a volunteer day on Wednesday. Brooke at the time said, yeah, I'm feeling real good about getting done by 1st of August. Not many days off, but it should be reasonable. I'm looking at it and seeing it might be a stretch, but it depends on how much what they consider a hand-built trail and what their definition of done is on some of the hand-built trails. The machine-built stuff that they're doing is pretty high quality and is fun to ride. So I hope they're going to do more of that all the way, the Bedell parcel and the loop around the field. So that's the update. They're making progress. They plan to be done on time and progress is looking good. I don't know if you had heard anything. Brooke did say that if you were able to get out with the mower out there, or anybody was able to get out with the mower down in the Bedell fields, it would be appreciated by those guys.
We're gonna do it within the next 3 or 4 days.
Sweet. Well, did you talk to them, or that's just your plan?
I've been planning, but
Okay.
trying to pour concrete between rain.
Yeah.
So it gets way.
Not doing very good.
Okay. So that's a trail update. Maintenance projects or other projects, anything happen?
We kind of slowed down up on that field up there because of the ticks were so bad. So, and the Bedell fields over there are awful. The last night we were up there, we each got like 10 ticks on us.
Wow.
So we've since found that there's a spray you can spray your clothes and it's very effective. So
Okay.
I'm going to have that on when I head up there to mow again.
Okay.
I'm just mowing the paths. That's all I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
What, other news, for anybody who's not aware, Rhoda Vidal passed away about 2, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was sudden, and, I was trying to leave a message for her because Brooke was asking about access to her property, and so I got a call back from her nephew. So it might have been pancreatic cancer or something. Anyway, it sounded like it, she just got sick and was on her way. So, request from the family, they would really like to see a trail named after Rhoda, and, maybe one after Rhoda and one after Leon or something like that. We should give some thought to what we can do to honor their memories, because, I think the town forest honors their memories in a significant way, and that it's something they would have really liked, that they were acquiring land kind of for the purpose to keep it out of development and make it accessible to people. That's what I understand from my conversation with Rhoda. The fact that it exists is good, but it would be nice to think of ways to explicitly call them out and express our gratitude.
For the August meeting, do we think that we could get an updated trail map from Sinuosity, since the construction should be complete by then?
Yep.
And then maybe we can do trail naming, put that on the agenda, so that could be a place before the opening.
Yeah.
I think some of the signage at the entrances or wherever the parking lots are gonna be. I think the Bedell property, it should be called the Leon Whitcomb Road Bedell parcel.
Mhm.
And then eventually signage for Bourne's and signage for Tammy's land. We should have another sign that says Memorial Parcel, Bourne Association Memorial Parcel.
Mhm.
Westover Memorial Parcel. I think if you go on the signage, it kind of will keep a little historical note on the town
Yeah.
forest.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Let's make sure we'll have an agenda item then for our August meeting for trail naming and planning signage.
It'll likely be a long topic, so we'll make sure we put a lot of time into that.
Yeah, and let's try and think about things in advance. We can probably at least share some ideas by email. Okay, so that's the trail building update. The maintenance update is that activities have been on hold for the last month because of ticks. Cool. So then we can come to forest management update, which takes us directly into the meeting we had last night. I shared a little bit kind of before the meeting started that we spoke so it was Rick and Silas, yeah.
Emily Potter.
Yep. And so Silas did a lot of the talking, but there's essentially 3 pots of money that's available for doing water cleanup activities. One of them is direct, pays out to loggers and is directly related to logging operations. Another one is kind of the reverse. It requires that it be at least 3 years since the most recent logging and no sooner than 3 years till the next logging. And then there was another one that didn't seem to have either of those restrictions. And I'm not clear if it had other particular restrictions, and nor do I remember the
Public use, RTP.
RTP. So that's the trails, something?
Recreational Trails Program.
Recreational. Okay.
Federal. That's the one that's 2% of the gas tax.
Okay. So and pays for all of the vast trail maintenance and stuff.
Yeah, but so the caveat there is, I believe there's a 20% cost share that has to come from local contributions in kind is a possibility too.
Okay.
Whereas the CRIP funding seems like it's kind of like out of our hands, but there's not much we got to do and there's no cost share. It's basically give us the reins to your horse and we'll take care of it kind of thing. That's what I got from this. And then there's the slow camp, which has to be associated with a harvest.
Yeah.
And what was the second one you mentioned? What's the name of it?
Well, it's the acronym CRISP.
Oh, was that the one?
There was Chris one, what?
It's associated with Lake Champlain cleanup. It's through the whole EPA mandate. It says Vermont has to clean up Lake Champlain. So anything associated with phosphorus discharge into tributaries of the Lake Champlain Basin have access to this pot of funding. And there's been agencies earmarked who can administer that funding. Those agencies are DEC, and then they're kind of foot soldiers, which are the conservation districts around. As far as eligibility, it's, you know, public lands, things like that.
And it's a state Vermont program.
Yes. Yep, I believe it's federal funding though. Yeah. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Seemed like that would be good, like the facing the Memorial River.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be nice to do some ecological restoration in there, but it would be difficult to pull off. You know, ecological restoration, silviculture, you know, some successional resets, get some of those areas that were hydrated with, you know, bad phenotypes and poor regeneration catches, stuff like that squared away, but that's easier said than done. And it's really hard to convince loggers that that's something they want to do. So it seems a really good and the conservation districts would be all over that. I mean, when you're walking, traversing 35% slopes, looking down at the river, I mean, you can see it, the continuity, the hydric continuity, which was part of the criteria. That's a no-brainer in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if they're going to take care of everything, and we don't, have any obligations, because that's good. I was a little disappointed because of not being able to integrate our community volunteers. But out of respect for Silas and Emily and Rick, I get it. You know, that's another job on their plate, training all these people and then sifting through data, which might not be right.
Right. So to me, it makes sense that, as you said, we can get that program to work on the northeast or especially north facing slopes in the Bourne parcel, and probably get them to look at as much as they'd be willing to look at.
Yeah, and then the sugar bush. I mean, all that whole sugar bush, if they'll do it, I mean, the sugar bush where there's all those.
Yeah, right down. Yeah.
Gotta be 30 culverts in there that are incorrectly sized and blown out, and you know, that's something I was thinking about last night.
Yeah,
they'll fix it.
Yeah.
We just have to maintain standard once it's taken to stand. Yep.
So then the slow camp, kind of is off the table for anything that's part of this program, at least in the short term. The places that we were looking at that would be most appealing to go do some forestry management work, some management work for the sake of regeneration catches, forest health kind of stuff, are way up on the plateau and out and back, maybe accessible across coming in from the Tony Smith property or from that side, which should put this on the agenda, Jack. There's The Tony Smith stuff is moving forward, and the probability that it's going to become town land, with the ability for us to move across it, is really high. But it's working through the, still in conversations with the executor of the will and taking things through probate. But things seem to be moving and looking good on that. So
There's a question about, does the town need to vote on that?
I mean, probably so. And it's probably that the NRLT as a landowner should probably come to the town and say, hey, we want to donate this property.
Oh, absolutely, that's gonna happen, but,
Yeah.
and I think all of us are in favor and the select board's in favor, but
Yeah.
is the town in favor?
I don't know why. That's a question for Linda probably, because I can't think of any good reason why it has to go to a public vote as opposed to the select board taking a vote. I don't know why why we had to have a public vote on the town forest and the wastewater. I guess I understand, and maybe the town forest because we had to authorize the town to contribute to the purchase, but then at the end of the day, TPL was able to do all of the fundraising, so we
Right,
didn't have any outlay.
well, that's the vote on Bear Swamp parcel 2 last town meeting.
Yeah, that vote was to engage Northern Rivers Land Trust. It was to engage. It didn't specify what the outcome of that engagement was.
That probably just has to do with formalizing, who's responsible for maintaining the land, and if there's any grievances, things like that. It has to be clear. Change in ownership. Whether it needs to be a public vote.
Yeah, and there would need to be stewardship.
Yeah, if there's
The
any-
town.
and some funding, right?
Yeah.
Which is probably easy to present, but at the same time,
We were taking.
respectful to at least acknowledge it, have everybody aware of it, participate in the process, if not, as it should. But if it's not required, then, maybe that's not.
I thought it had to do with the fact that it affects everybody's taxes,
Yeah.
because that's off the rolls.
Yeah.
And then our taxes, although, it's minute, but still, it's less people carrying the tax, but less on the roll.
Transparency.
There is gonna be a 2-acre lot with the buildings subdivided for affordable housing.
Yep, yeah, good.
Yeah.
We need that. Yes, we do. Yep.
Yeah, so coming back to the water quality and ways to proceed with that. So it seems like the option one, the regional thing. I don't know what other approval we would need to go ahead with doing the stuff. I think I think we as a group should affirm that we want to do this. And engage let Rick and Isaac, Silas, let them know that this is what we want to do.
And the first stage, of course, would be to proceed with the formal inventory. And as Lee had said, that there'd be less integration of, lay people and volunteers, just to kind of make sure that people with training can, take the proper inventory and then familiar with the equipment and all that. They did say that they wouldn't mind if a couple people from the committee wanted to piggyback on that effort just to participate and to learn. But as far as, Luke had said, there wasn't really a large component where a lot of volunteers were necessary at this stage.
It sounds to me Silas kind of wants to keep it between him and the Franklin County Natural Resource Conservation
Yeah,
District.
that was kind of the vibe I was getting
Yeah,
to.
and then if we wanted to integrate our volunteers, we could integrate it at the layout stage. But basically, they're gonna process the data and they're gonna say, this is what qualifies, this is what you have to do. I think they hire the contractors too, they pay the contractors, they put the prospectus out. So yeah, and then I would assume they would do the layout too. But where Silas said they could integrate us was the layout, what that looks like, I don't know.
So in terms of the deadline, the real pressure was if we were gonna pursue the slow camp funding, they said that it opens, I think they said July 21st, and there's kind of a first come, first serve.
That is gonna go super fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we were gonna go down that route, then accelerating it would be to our benefit, but that's like a week and a half away.
Yeah.
So I don't know if a proper application can be compiled by then.
Yeah, that's tough, because we'd have to come up with a prospectus.
Yep.
Basically a scope of what we want a contractor to do. We'd
Easily
have
a
to
whole
see-
week's of work, worth of work, you know, and when we already have schedules planned, it's probably not realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'd have to get a logger on board with a prescription.
Because the lawyer has to file that.
Yeah, it has to be through the logger, but we can dictate what he does and where he does it.
Right.
This is our truck road, this is the roads we want reclamated, you know,
Right.
as a byproduct of the harvest. Yeah, I mean, that I can put together really fast. Emily could too. I know where I think it should be done, but that's me. This is not the committee. I think we should do something about that 40% white ash stamp. Simple as that, because yeah, that's gonna be a goner, and then it's gonna be a hazard. And there's stuff you can do there to diversify that stand and get it so it's, you know, resilient.
That's
and
the
healthy.
whole of essentially stand two.
Well, it's just looking at Emily's data.
Mhm.
There's a stand that's 40% white ash, and when I walked through it, man, there were sections it was like 90% white ash, and they're all even. It's all even age, really big bowls. It looks nice, but there's no structure in it. It's extremely valuable, and it's going to be gone. We've seen it all over the country.
Yeah,
You know,
there's an ash tree right next to the rail trail over here by the river. It's on the river side of the rail trail, and it's, you know, clear examples. It's about this big around, and it's all dead on top, and there's a few shoots coming out the bottom.
Epiccormic's wow.
Yeah,
Does it have the boil?
yeah. I mean, it's got those
Got the
symptoms
allergies.
of white.
Wow, I didn't realize it was already,
It's right
Here.
there, right at the bottom of the hill.
wow. Have you seen a lot of it in?
Not in Wolcott,
No.
but all around us. And I tell you, 10 years ago, we were like all kinds of relaxed about it. No, we're gonna be conservation minded, maintain, you know, high percentage, you know, the good growth form trees. And then it's like, oh my goodness. You know, now we've got stands we can't even work in because there's these hazards everywhere.
But haven't the log prices dropped again on ash?
Well, yeah, the Canadian exporters aren't paying the, you know, crazy $800 straight through, but it's still pretty good. Or actually 1,100-1,200 5 point last winter, but it's still good. Yep.
Not only the prices is a problem. I know it was good this summer, but when the tariffs, when they stopped buying, you know, sending hardwood to Canada,
Sure.
the price I heard really dropped.
Yeah.
And now there's only one log truck driver in Lamoille County left. And he's in he's in Jeffersonville. He's the only one. So, I mean, you're gonna struggle.
I got a whole list of them. Yep. Yep, that's not a problem.
It's not a problem.
Nope, not a problem.
It is for me.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you're small.
Yeah.
I said,
It's tough.
I said a load of pine last week
Yep, it's hard.
and it was tough.
Yep.
So, what do you guys think? Do we want to consider, a harvest to, be able to harvest some of this ash and not have it be, a safety hazard and, uh, does it slow down the spread of the borer to actually get some of its substrate out of the way? I mean, are we doing the rest of, are we doing the rest of the world a favor, the rest of the forest around us a favor by getting rid of a bunch of our ash trees before the borer gets in them and by taking away habitat for the borer?
I would say so, yes. Mhm.
Where would it come out?
I'm not entirely sure. I haven't looked at it. Yeah. Seems like you'd want to come out Elmore Pond way, if there's an access that way, as opposed to bringing it all the way down to the landing behind the garage. The town garage is a long way and on shallow soils.
Linda Martin says that Borns talked to a lot of people on Elmore Mountain Road,
Okay,
trying to get access,
okay,
and they didn't have much luck.
okay, yep.
I think we could make a deal with Trevor Corp. He's the only one that's even reasonable. That's possible. Apparently the Scott Furlan has the best access. I don't think he's terribly receptive.
Is he, right next to Trevor? Is he right next to Trevor?
Yes.
Okay.
He was fairly receptive to my brother when he approached him to remove the cabin on the Bourne property. And actually, now that I'm thinking of it, I think it was my brother actually dealt with his son, I want to say, and they got along fine, and it was totally fine for Cole to go through there. Now, it wasn't a logging operation; it was just removing a cabin, so it was fairly, it wasn't all that much, wasn't changing anything all that much, but just throwing that out there. It might be a possibility.
So what do you think? I mean, what challenges that we would face, figuring out where the access would be, finding somebody to do the work, getting into the slow camp, having the slow camp process, deciding what we would want to do for slow camp. If the logger's going to come in from Elmore, and be up on top, the things that we're looking to get remediated, that I'm aware of that we're looking to get remediated, are not necessarily up there. Not the worst. Well, there's some.
I agree with you.
But the
They're
worst
not
of it,
necessarily up there.
the worst of it is
I'm not
not
sure
there.
if they are up there. I haven't poked around all that much in there, but yeah, it's mainly towards the river.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
Nevertheless, the ash harvest might be a desirable thing to do, and it'd be better to do it. I think better to do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it definitely is.
It's a bit of a change from the other conversations we've had around forest management approaches. And our current forest management plan, essentially says that no activity required, nor recommended. I think, experience shows that Emily is very responsive to what she perceives of as the landowner's objectives, and if we tell her that we're definitely interested in being active for the sake of forest health, my expectation is, my guess, let's put it this way, my guess is that that she'd be happy to work with us on this kind of thing. So I don't see that as, I don't see Emily as taking a strong stand against it. I just do see it as being a bit of a change from what we've talked about in the past. And so, we want to document discussion around why we're changing our point of view and why we're, we might have to answer some questions from people who look at our survey and say, we didn't want to see logging and here you are logging.
Yeah, but people do want to see forest management. And forest and logging is a byproduct of forest management. It's a tool we have.
Do we have an idea of how large the stand of ash trees is?
I'm really not sure. Yeah, I'd have to look at it. There's a lot of stands up there that are degraded. We don't have good regeneration. We have the ash. It's just an excellent opportunity to get some of that diversification and regeneration going on. Yep, have a harvest going up there. I mean, the nice thing about it is that we don't make a ton of money on this. We can put that into the forest. We can ask the logger to slow down and be picky about what he does and follow fastidious instructions for maintaining old growth characteristics. We can do that. So in Emily's plan, she's citing stocking charts and she's citing graphs, and all those stocking charts and graphs, they show stocking parameters and they show where the town forest is. And that shows most of the stands are overstocked. So when they get overstocked, what happens? They go into suppression or they go into stem exclusion and they start self-culling themselves. Sometimes it's to, unhealthy stand. Sometimes it's just a couple decades of transition where you have intermediate stems just dropping out your maples and popples, things like that, making way for more shade tolerant hardwoods. Maybe we do just want to wait and deal with all that stuff on the ground. But when we have biological threats like the emerald ash borer, I think it's irresponsible not to do something, because that's a safety concern. And it's when you have 40% of the stand that's stocked in that species, and when the ash are already crown dominant in that stand, they're going to die. They die from the top down, and they're not creating scarification. They're not coppicing. They're not suckering. You basically have a dead forest, which is extremely hazardous. And those hardwood tops of white ash are really wide, so they're like spears when they come down. So in some of those areas that I look at that where that are high graded, you've just got these big old red maples, scarified conchs and seams and just poor stuff. And we don't have that. Nice thick hardwood regeneration stock in the understory that you can get through expanding gaps, stuff like that. Yeah. So it just seems like we really could benefit from that. Yeah.
How long does it take for the ash tree to die once it becomes infected?
2-3 years.
2-3 years.
Yep.
So if we don't get the grant this year, possibly have everything ready to go for next year and still.
So Camp Fund is this is their first year, so it's like a new program that may not exist.
May not exist next year.
So that was something they called out during the meeting too, is that it's a pilot program, so and there's no guarantee it will be funded in this administration change moving forward. So they were saying that if you wanted to take advantage of it, this would be that opportunity and this push. beyond that, yeah, there's a possibility, that or a similar program could arise in the upcoming years. We just don't know yet. Right. I don't know, like push it one way or the other necessarily, but I do remember that from the meeting last night. That's to be considered.
Well, we're on the subject and we have you there, Luke. Beech leaf disease, that people are starting to beat that drum. I mean, how would that fit into this picture? Are they all going at once, the beech and the ash potentially, or is that, I mean, that could really, it could really lead to a lot of dead wood. So would it be better to get ash out in the idea that beech leaf is coming behind it and beech are also going to die? I don't know. Just if you had any thoughts there.
Yeah, that's another one to add to the list. The beech are already kind of marginalized in my mind by the nectria fungus. Unfortunately, the beech blight is the beech leaf. I guess it's going to affect the beech that have resistance, the bubble beech also. Yeah, I mean that's I guess it's just another issue to think about. Yep. So when we have those pockets where we can start up some histosol next to nice yellow birch and get a good yellow birch catch, we should. There's places up there where, that'll take very nicely. And, get young red maple established. Yep. So I guess that would be another reason why we want silviculture in there to steer these stands to the stems that they're best at to grow. Yep.
Beach. I'm looking through Emily's forest management plan. So stand 1, stand 2, you were saying stand 3 has got 15% white ash.
Okay.
So it did look like on one of her pie charts, at one point it looked like 25% white ash, but just looking through this, the stand 3 15% is the highest I'm seeing it.
Okay.
And stand 3, if I remember right, so let me see if I can find the map. That's our trails map. Can't find the map. Maybe it's in a different file. I think stand 3 is the it's the major section of the plateau top of the Bourne parcel.
Yep.
I think if we could, survey and map out these high ash concentrations, I don't think Emily would have any problem with making an amendment because of the impending,
No, Emily doesn't. Emily wants forest management out here.
Yeah.
She said that straight. Yep. We need it. It's an even age forest. It's in decline. It hasn't got the tending that it needs. It's overstocked. It's full of high graded wood. Yep. She wanted to give the committee time to get to know the forest, get comfortable with forest management, get to know each other. It's just like a new landowner. The last thing you want to do is shove a prescription down there on them before they even know the difference between an ash and a birch. You got to give them time to get acclimated to the forest, how it feels. Yeah, but she did give us stocking, and that shows us that our stands are overstocked. Doesn't necessarily mean we should harvest every stand that's overstocked. It just comes with a realization that it's going to go in decline, whether we manipulate it or not. Yeah.
The other thing is in the Maple Sugar Makers Association newsletter, they're talking about changing the regulations for sugar bush trails and access roads. They're going to put them under the same standards that loggers are taking, so that if your access trail has culverts that are failed on them, you're gonna have to fix them. Now, maybe that would make the sugar maker up here have to replace some of his culverts because of those regulations.
Yeah, so I believe that has to do with the two categories that sugar bushes can be in. They can be in ag or they can be in forest. Ag is a higher tax rate and you're not required to follow the voluntary AMPs. Whereas forestry is a lower tax rate and you're required to follow the AMPs. And there's a lot of water quality degradation that's goes along with managing brush when you're in there in the springtime on those soft ephemeral soils and sites. And it's recognized that there's a lot of issues with ag sugar bushes where people aren't required to follow the AMPs. And then there's also questions of, trails, recreational trails. And okay, that's not logging. Are they required to follow the AMPs? Are they not? So they just want to make a blanket policy and say, if you're in the forest, period, this is what we're required to follow, the same document. Yeah. Yeah, and it's probably going to be the same, like now it's probably like 50% compliance, just because you've got issues doesn't mean you're going to, get in trouble.
I think 8 environmental enforcement officers in the state of Vermont.
Yeah.
They kind of have their hands full.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So do we, if we're going to do some logging and try and clean up the white ash, we're maybe not going to get our water quality and our access to trails. It's probably neutral in terms of recreation is what I'm hearing. It's not going to help. But if we're not building trails out there and doing stuff, it's not really going to hurt either because there's just not a lot of recreation activity. So
that wouldn't be visible to recreation users at this stage anyway, which means if there is a follow-up effort to build trails in that area in subsequent years, significant regeneration may have already taken place to that patch cut.
So it's better sooner rather than later.
Seems like recreational users would like it because wildlife come in, birds come in, there's cover, there's food. It's the garden is growing.
Yeah,
you need that, and there's not cover. When you can walk up on that ridge and look 100 yards, that's like standing in the middle of an interstate for wildlife. They're following the softening bands, and then they're feeding on the ecotone edges. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I would say from a recreational perspective, I can see some advantages to having some management activities. Specifically this, there's a place where some of my favorite bike trails these days are down in Calais and Worcester. They're up on the ridgeline. And so the loggers did a patch cut that basically goes almost up to the top of the ridgeline, and the bike trail comes in right at the top of it, and you can look out across Worcester Village, across Worcester Range. So it's it's a view that you wouldn't have if they hadn't done the logging operation.
Definitely.
So there's definite advantages to it. It's wasn't pretty to look at 2 years ago. It's not bad to look at now. And it adds value to adds to the recreation and aesthetic value for the parcel.
Yeah, it certainly was, but yeah, where there's possible distance and it makes sense to do a complex canopy gap to capture that breadth of species there, then do it. Yeah.
So the other thing that comes to my mind in terms of logging operations, Dave, we've talked about this before. it struck, so it was on the trail which Sinuosity is making, which I think is gonna be, marked as a hiking trail. You know, it goes up and it's up in the spruce and fir stand up on top of the hill and you know, I can see it now. I look around, it's dense. The spruce trees are smaller and, there may come a time when we, you know, either we're gonna lose a lot to wind throw up there or we should get some management. And so I just want to put that on the table while we're talking about this stuff right now. I don't think I don't think it's a this year thing, but I do think that, you know, the minutes should show that we're mindful of the fact that that maybe a place we want to target management activity in the, you know, within the next decade. So that's my comment. So as a committee, do we want to take an official stand that we should be investigating logging activity specifically focused on remediating the top of the, you know, bringing forest health and removing white ash will be subject to, I don't know how to phrase it, subject to significant degradation due to the emerald ash borer. I think, you know, if we're going to go ahead, the steps ahead with this, Luke, we have to look to you, I think, as having knowledge and expertise and to help make it happen.
Yes, the salvage harvest.
Yeah.
I think it would be good for us to cram another activity into our summer schedule and visit a salvage, a local salvage. Just the committee should go and I can show you a salvage operation. I can show you some expanded gap shelter woods. Where and when, I'm not sure, but I really would like to show you guys some of that stuff. It takes the unknown out of it.
Yeah, I mean, as a committee member, I love the idea of getting better educated about managing a forest, period. Do you think we should do that before we have further discussion around what to do up here?
I think we should put together a prospectus, we put a prospectus out, see if we can get loggers.
Mhm.
Yep. I don't think it's appropriate for me to call loggers that I know personally. Or maybe it is. I mean, what do you guys think? We need at least 3.
I would say in terms of during this, you know, salvage, could be anyone, because it's just
Okay.
a tourist educational trip. But, you know, promising them any kind of, you know, fast track contract versus would be, you know, inappropriate. But anytime we want to employ a service, especially a large job, that's, you know, in excess of a couple $1,000s, I would imagine. Not only does the select board want to be engaged in that process, but also I think putting out the bid for, or putting out a prospectus, like you said, is appropriate, just because, you know, we want to be transparent. We want to get the best deal or the best service. And, you know, it doesn't mean that people, you know, can't put their hat in for it, you know?
Okay, good.
But it also opens it up where, you know, there are other people that other people know too, so, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
As long as we
Where-
follow-
Sorry. Where would the prospectus go out to if you weren't personally doing approaching loggers, Luke? I mean, where does that, how do you reach out?
I'd warn it. I'd post it around town at the town clerk's office, at the store, and then put it in the paper. And then if I guess I would just Yeah, I guess I would just send it to at least three qualified loggers that I know. Yep,
Presumably,
and that's what Forest and Parks does, and that's what I've done in the past.
yeah, I was gonna say, presumably Emily knows all the foresters who are working around here, and if we engage her, she could help us generate a list of people that we could proactively send it to.
Most certainly.
So we'll probably get that.
Yeah, we want to invite people that we feel are qualified for our job and have the right material, have the right equipment, have the right experience, and have a good track record.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
Are you talking about a big operation or so much every winter?
I'm not talking about a big operation. I guess that's really all in the eyes of the beholder, what a big operation is. I mean, if it's, an area control of 40 acres, a big operation in your mind. I mean, that's not mine. So it's,
So you would go in and try to get the ash sections sooner than
I would, yeah.
and then concentrate on areas that are overstocked.
Overstocked or have ecological issues and aren't functioning the way they should, from wildlife standpoint, from a timber health standpoint, water quality standpoint. One of the things to keep in mind is, staging. There's a lot of effort that goes into staging a log job. There really is. Forest management, engaging the logger, the contracts, the insurance, the layouts, just getting everybody acclimated and accustomed to, having this going on. So that if we have somebody up there, we should probably do some of these other things. So if we, want a regular shelter wood for uneven age forest structure, we should implement that.
What does that mean? A regular shelter wood for uneven forest age?
So a regular shelter would be you're cutting a percentage of the stand, and then sheltering the regeneration that comes up in this shelter, the residual stand, but it's irregular by virtue of the time that you let the overstory stay sheltering your regeneration.
So when you talk about regular shelter, what you mean that it's something we'd have to be going back to on a periodic basis, like every 5 years, 10 or something to.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So your cutting cycle could be 30 years. You could set it up in a 30-year cutting cycle. But
so some variation of what the cutting cycle is. But when you're talking about shelter wood, what you're talking about is that we're going in regularly to do stuff.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, at one level, if I think about it from a forest management perspective, of course, as a landowner or whatever, of course, I'm going to be going into my forest on a regular basis to harvest stuff or to do stuff. If I think about it from a perspective of, never thought about running a woodlot, the woods are the woods, just leave it alone. The regular forest management activity, I don't think is a baseline assumption. So that's why I think we have to I may be all wrong about this, but I think we may have to educate the public, so to speak, that regular activity is a baseline assumption in areas that we're talking about here.
The town barbecue could be a good opportunity to engage and test some of these ideas instead of going formal on it. As we're developing it, just kind of word on the street, bring it up, talk about it. People who are interested, we could signal a public meeting too, but I still feel like we're still a little bit early in the process too. doing a couple patch cuts here and there, it doesn't seem, although, there's gonna be a spectrum of responses. But I do think like it's pretty well understood in terms of under this viewpoint of forest management, that that's regular activity. We do have an expectation to manage it for health. It's the recurring cuts, I think, is an area of like, is this necessary? What level of education do we need? But also, we don't necessarily have to commit to 30 years out either. This forest plan is evaluated on a 10-year cycle, and we can kind of amend it whenever, especially in this kind of adolescent period of it. We can develop it rapidly in the next 1 to 2 years. I don't know. I'm not sure that a public meeting is really necessary quite yet, because we haven't really gotten to the point where we have a proposal on the deck yet.
Yeah. And maybe I'm overthinking it and making too much of the kinds of concerns. Another, if I were to argue against my prior perspective, there's 5,000 acres of land that's now protected by the New England Wilderness Trust for forever wild. And they're basically not doing any forest management activity, according to the way I understand it. They're the only forest management activity they're doing on the whole Woodbury Mountain Ridgeline is clearing out the Norway spruce that is not a native species. And then their plan is to just not touch it forever. And that's a lot of acreage. It's almost in walking distance of our forests. So, if people really want to have us not touching our forests, not doing anything, part of our response to it is, look, there's a whole lot of forest that's not being managed. We're taking care of this piece for recreation, and we don't have to manage it that way. So, is it our official position that we want to move ahead with doing stuff? I think it is.
I support the idea of active management. I do think that if we are going to do management activities focusing on, like you said, stands of the white ash, which are under threat anyway. And just essentially creating a future disaster zone for us, and it makes sense to preempt it a little bit and to kind of test this system. I think makes sense. In terms of what processes we want to follow to get there. In my mind, I'm like, if there's any other work that can piggyback on that kind of, for lack of a better word, intrusion into that area to do the work, like, from there to the extraction point, that could, ideally be, could remediate some of the other water quality issues and stuff like that. I think, of course, that stuff should all kind of be bundled into that same conversation, because if there's going to be any kind of access being established through that lane, then we should get the most bang for the buck in that moment, and then hit it how we want to hit it, and then let the regeneration begin, and then learn from that experience and kind of do like a post-op and see, get the feedback on that. Seems like a reasonable step for me to try, in terms of not only like securing the most possibilities in terms of funding, but also to, if we're going to do it and mobilize a team, let's see if we can crack off a couple other things on the way there and back. That would be my viewpoint of it. I don't know how other people feel about it, but.
I'm just wondering, how much is it our responsibility to see about the access to these stands and talk to potential landowners first, or do we leave that up to the logger? Do we get a logger?
That's our job.
Yeah, we should do that.
That's our job. Yeah, that's definitely our job.
I don't think we need to stack them one behind the other. I think it sounds like getting a prospectus out is going to take some work, and I guess maybe we do. Maybe we don't even want to put the prospectus out if we're going to run into trouble with access from the top. the other possibility is access across the Bedell parcel and, you know, going up across, essentially across the bridge and going all the way up through there. I don't know that, you know, I mean, it's not terrible. It's a downhill skid.
Isn't there a right of way out to Elmore Pond Road? But there was a right of way out there.
There's discussion about it. I think it crosses Trevor's neighbor. I don't know, you know, we probably have to check deeds and stuff to
I can
figure out
see that.
exactly what it is.
Yep. I would be extremely surprised if there's not. That's the aggregation of parcels. You know, it had access at one time.
I think it goes like essentially right to the to the corner by where the pond is in the old camp.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've looked at that map before. I have in my mind's eye. There's a survey map of it. Yeah.
So it seems like we need a couple of actions if we want to go forward. It's you know, checking with the landowners, and maybe you and I can do that. And Gabe, maybe get your help for talking to Trevor's neighbor. And then what do we got to do for the prospectus?
I gotta take a walk up there.
And after that, are there a bunch of subsequent steps?
Yeah, okay,
Bunch of work to
so,
be done?
yep, so I gotta take a walk up there and then, I'll talk to Emily. Engage her, see if she wants to come up with me. And then, I'll write a prescription, a silvicultural prescription with justification. And then I'll send it to you guys and you can look at it and ask questions.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're already looking to spend time in the August meeting talking about trail names and signage and stuff. Do we need another meeting before or after? How much time will it take to do all of that? A couple weeks
From now?
Yeah.
Yeah, from now. Yeah, so our next, let's say, a month to come up with a prescription.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can discuss it at our next meeting.
Yeah.
And you know, that's as fast as we can reasonably hope to make progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that seems good.
Yeah, so right away, prescription,
Mhm.
and then prospectus.
Yeah.
And you're under the assumption that this will take place in the winter time only.
Not necessarily, because of the regeneration catch. I
Okay.
would like that scarification,
Trevor Corp's driveway is a half-mile long.
okay?
It's quite narrow,
Okay,
a little twisted.
okay,
It doesn't have a terrible good footing under it.
okay,
So, I mean, if you were to use his access in there, it's gonna cost money repairing.
got it. Yeah,
And then from Trevor's house across Scott Furlan's,
okay,
it's like less than a quarter of a mile, maybe a quarter of a mile out to that pond area.
okay,
And it's pretty flat. It's pretty good access. And I don't think we really screw up his road much. But Trevor's access would take a beating if we did it other than wintertime. So it's something to consider.
totally. Yeah, I mean, the cons might outweigh the pros, and it might not be solvent. And it might be more of a pain in the butt. And we might just say, not gonna happen, but we gotta give it a look. You gotta give it a chance. And we also have these, you know, a month or so in the summer where it gets really hard. especially on these shallow soils. You can get a lot of work done and you can get good scarification.
Sure.
You know, in addition to allocating growth potential to our nice residual stems, we would benefit from getting generation catches in those histic soils. That yellow birch, and to do that, we've got to churn that up a little bit. No aggregated flow and puddles, but you want to get in there and churn it up like tilling. And then you get these nice big thick catches of yellow birch, and that would be really nice to have.
Yeah, if you cut hardwood in the summertime,
Yep,
you gotta get it to the mill in a hurry.
you do.
You can't let it sit.
Yep. You do. It would be nice to get over the road trucks too. I don't know if that's a possibility. I have to look at that road. Or if it's just, local trucks. Yeah, so those are things I'll take a look at.
I think we've gotta look at that access where they logged the land down below Horns. A couple of 3 years ago, they came out down by the bridge down on Elmore Pond Road.
Oh, yeah.
That might be even a better access. I don't know, it's possible.
Yeah. Yep.
The walk, I mean, it's the vast trail in the winter. In the summertime, it's pretty soggy.
That access actually was the vast trail? I didn't think so.
So the vast trail goes right along the bank of the river.
Right.
And runs up. I
Maybe.
think I have to think it would be. I don't know what else.
Yeah, no, it
access is
definitely-
out there.
Yeah, it went onto the trail, and yeah, it came out right where that trail crosses Elmore Pond Road.
Yeah.
They were definitely dragging on the trail in wintertime. It's not a very well used part of the vast trail. I was curious how they, how that all happened, but
That's
it
trouble.
was going on.
Yep. Yeah, that's trouble. Oh, that is trouble.
Being on the vast
There was a discharge there.
Mhm.
There was a discharge off that landing. We would be in the wetland buffer, the river buffer. I wouldn't want to go there. No way.
Okay.
Not when we're trying to promote water quality. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that. Because there's not a lot of space between the river and the ledges down there.
I see.
I've been in wintertime, I've been in there a few times on the mountain bike and a few other walks in there. So, yeah. Okay, so actions, figuring out what we want to do, having you come back with a report prospectus is too early. We wouldn't have the prospectus for the loggers by next month, but you'll have an idea of what's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So
One of the things to think about is this can be desirable for a contractor because of the dirt work too. If there's $30,000 of dirt work that come with it, there's nothing that says this needs to be a solvent practice. Or we have to make a bunch of money.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we could leave wood in the woods to do patch cuts or, forest tending, crop tree release. There's a whole bunch of stuff we could do. And to make it more desirable to a contractor, everybody's got a mini now, little mini excavator. And that's nice work in the forest and the canopy cover alone, peaceful, $30,000 to go and reclimate some forest roads that people are going to appreciate. I mean, that's great. And then we get some silviculture out of it. It doesn't have to be necessarily extraction. It can be forest tending. It can be beach control on heavily nectareous, affected beach suckers, cutting them out high so you get root pressure and kills them off. It can be, crop tree release or mass tree release. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can do. And I don't think it needs to be solvent. It just needs to be logging. It needs to be forest management.
So, yeah, the logger has to get the 30,000 from slow camp.
Exactly. But we can say, this is where we want it done. It's our land.
That's
If we go through with this It's my recommendation that we actually hire Luke Hart to be the controlling forester. He should get compensated for his work. Somebody's gotta watch out for this operation and make sure it works and then conforms to the rules.
Yeah. I hear you. You know, I mean, the amount of the time that you're talking about and the expertise that you're bringing, and the value that that brings to us to have your available to do it is immense. And how we do that as being an official town, you know, part of the official town government, is a bit of a puzzle to me.
I think essentially, you know, it's like any other hired service.
Mhm.
You know, because this is kind of investigatory work, it's, you know, it's not, I mean, you have to start, any process has to start somewhere. But I think what we can probably do is authorize up to a certain amount, an amount not to exceed or something along those lines. With an understanding of like, you know, the value of your time and the expectation of how much time it might take. Whether or not how you want to work those numbers is, you know, within your realm, you know, because you have understanding of like, well, what if I wasn't doing this work, what would I be doing? It would be, you know, building the dream on the other side of it, right? So, yeah, I think that you know, we would have a certain amount of authority to do that. I mean, the select board, it probably doesn't hurt. It's like, hey, this is where we're going, and you know, Linda's either going to be like not necessary in terms of whether the select board needs to be engaged.
Yeah.
We just have to give them some lead time, so if they do need to discuss it, that they can get it on their own agenda.
Yeah.
Chances are, well, since we have a budget that we haven't really spent much of this fiscal year so far, it's very likely that they'll rubber stamp it, but I can't guarantee it. Especially if it's just essentially, you know, land surveying to a large degree, like just getting out there, seeing what's there, coming up with informed recommendations.
Well, any work that a forester should be paid for by what we by timber harvesting. That's
right.
Yeah, it should pay for itself. Most certainly.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's if that's the package that's usually presented.
Yeah.
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 I think just an understanding of like how that factors in or folds in to any kind of grant money that we put out there and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just like, you know, if for whatever reason we don't get a grant, at least we have an idea of what we may be on the hook for, you know, in terms of time put into the project. Yeah. So
Yeah, I fully agree. I'm just curious how Emily Potter fits into the picture with, you know, with this sort of thing. Does she just pass it off to you, Luke?
Private foresters work with state foresters all the time. I work on state lands and private lands, and Emily works on state lands and private lands. So, you know, we're colleagues. If she wants to do something, she can do it. I don't have a problem with that, and she wouldn't have a problem with me working. You know, we're all different, have specialties. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more of an operations forester than she is, and she definitely has skills in certain areas that are, you know, more honed than mine. So, you know, we just kind of balance each other out, and I would definitely float by what we're discussing or proposing, because I wouldn't want to, you know, make her feel marginalized. That's the last thing I want to do. And I don't think she would. I've worked with her for 20 years.
And she was in the meeting last night as well, so she's kind of up to speed in the conversation in terms of this type of potential activity. And didn't raise a lot of objections in the conversation, or really any objections that I can detect, but she was a participant. You know, was stirring a lot of ideas and possibilities as well. So it seems like something that she at least, you know, residually supported without getting a direct statement from her or anything.
Yeah, no, sounds good.
Yeah, I would want her to be aware of everything we're doing.
Yeah.
100%. Yep. Just, it's nice to have that, you know? Yeah, another set of eyes. So.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm hearing consensus that we want to go ahead with doing this stuff. Luke, we need you to walk around and figure out, essentially to come back to us with a recommendation of what the activity should be. And, you know, bearing in mind the concerns about access, what Dave's talking about winter access versus summer access, you're at, you know, the notion that maybe we don't actually have to haul any wood out. You know, tell us what's an optimal thing to do, or a couple of options that we can choose from, and help us understand the reasoning behind it, so we're all well aligned on it. And if anybody, you know, townspeople are coming to us to ask us questions, we're on with the information we need to answer. I think that's what we're looking at going forward. We want to solve for the ash. We want to have a healthy forest up there. We want to remediate the water quality issues, you know, as much water quality issue remediation as we can get. And that's what we want to do.
Yeah, so let's wrap it up. We'll make a motion, right? So I make a motion to engage Luke Hart to provide services to walk the property and engage with Emily Potter and write a silvicultural prescription based on what's discovered there to inform potential future actions related to forest management.
Yeah. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Any discussion points around the motion? We've obviously discussed, but
Maxfield, did you have anything you wanted to chime in about? You're probably the most silent so far.
The only question I had, and I haven't been up on the science on this, haven't read on it in a while, in terms of leaving ash trees in the chance that some of them are resistant to EAB. And I don't know where the latest science is on that.
Yeah, definitely. So, white ash are, they're monoecious. There's one sex per tree. And you can look up and you can actually, if you know what to look for, you can differentiate between the males and the females. And females drop seed. And when you see a nice seed producer in a location where it's going to send, you know, a lot of seed, we leave them. So that would be kind of my MO for making sure that we've got some good, healthy phenotypes to continue to spread seed. Yeah, that's what I would do. Yep.
The only other thing, down in Groton State Forest, I know since the 80s, they've been doing, you know, different types of cutting to kind of guide the forest in different directions. And in terms of, you know, Wolcott town resident education on what, you know, a long-term prescriptive outcome can look like, that might be, even when you're down there hiking, they have placards, you know, in front of the cuts to explain, you know, what the procedure was, when it started, and what the ultimate goal is. And I think some of you, to my recollection, have photographs of, you know, like what it looked like 20 years ago and then 10 years ago. And then you can obviously look at it currently.
Yeah, we could do something like that. Most certainly. Yep. I mean, the first thing that we need to decide, and it may have been decided, is if we're going to manage these forests as even age forests or uneven age forests. From what I've seen, that they're all even age. But you know, going forward, even age management consists of you know, 3 or 4 entries over a stand's total rotation. So say that rotation is 110 years. You know, we've got an entry every 30 years, and most, you know, so it would be like an intermediate thinning, initiation harvest to get the regeneration, and then an intermediate thinning, and then a shelter wood, and then a final cut. That's basic even age management. And then uneven age management, instead of a stand rotation where we're digressing back into stand initiation, getting a regeneration catch, we're implementing a cutting cycle where we're constantly cutting trees within each stratum of the forest. But to get to that point, we have to create that uneven age structure of at least three forest stratus. And, you know, we're far away from that. And to do that, we'd have to do some sort of irregular shelter wood, layout with area control. Yeah.
So uneven age stand is most likely natural forest, right? To the best of our understanding, like, it's, you know, so presumably it's more resilient based on what I've heard in the past, right?
Yeah, there's more functional redundancy. Yeah.
I think of no reason why we would want to do even age stand management at all. I think we want to get back to uneven aged, and which requires some work to get there.
It does. Right? That's the issue. It's more work.
Yeah.
You've got a cutting cycle. So, you know, every 15 years you're in there. So like your parcel is a good example. You know, we've taken that uneven age structure, and we've had a pretty tight cutting cycle. So it takes a lot of it. So yeah.
But, you know, I mean, based on objectives and feedback and stuff, it seems like that's where we want to go. It's better for water quality, it's better for wildlife, it's better for forest resilience, better ecology. You know, recreation, yeah, we can do recreation either way, but we want to be uneven age.
Yeah, so the first step in taking that uneven age or that even age forest into an uneven age is to get some sort of parcel-wide, stand disturbance to create a new strata.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Up there right now, we've got pretty much one strata, and not even a regen strata, one strata.
Okay.
So
So sorry, I didn't realize there's a motion on the floor, and this is discussion related to your question, Maxfield. Do you feel satisfied with the information you're getting?
Yes, my question was answered. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Any other discussion? Okay, the motion, and Roger, do you have, are you comfortable with how you've gotten the motion written?
Yeah, I'll hold my exact statement from the transcript. I put it in the notes. I'll capture if you want to push the vote.
Yeah. All right, all those in favor of the motion as Roger stated, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. So, cool. I think that closes out our agenda. We were trying to end early, and
just a quick little note. We do want to do a table and town barbecue. We can talk about it with more specificity.
we get next month to talk about it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure because she had a deadline to inform her if we wanted a table.
Yeah, we want a table.
Cool, that was it. No further discussion until August.
So the date on that is,
That is the 22nd of August, I want to say. I think it's, let me check, it's on my calendar.
The other thing then that we should talk about, and we'll just make sure we're all in alignment with, if we're going to talk about signage and trail names and stuff next month. And as mentioned, I think Maxfield, you were talking about the Groton State Forest and the educational signage down there. I would like to engage with Bradley and see if he's interested in helping develop some educational signage and an overall signage strategy. And similarly, we may need to compensate him for his time. And we do have some budgets available for signage. So I'd like to ask Bradley to consider educational signs related to forestry practices and other signage. There's the honoring the landowners and stuff like that. And I'd like to ask him to come to our next meeting with a proposal for signage and pricing, you know, what it would take for him to run the program essentially.
I support that.
Anybody else? Sound good to everybody? Maxfield's got a thumbs up, cool. Okay. We'll take, you know, somebody say so moved.
Yeah, Gordon, I remember when Paula was in high school, they had this tech center program where they had this machine that would route out like signs on this bicolor laminate product. And the kids did it, and they would do it for community members if they wanted stuff done. Just something to throw out there. So like a plaque, you know, they program, it's like part of the programming, you know, stuff. So they program it, and then the machine, you know, this is a type of harvest in 2025 with this objective, silvicultural objective, or, you know, it's an option.
I also have one follow-up for the sinuosity, because my understanding is that they were going to install parking areas under their contract as well.
I think so, yeah.
Are those also going to be completed on time?
I didn't ask Brooke specifically about parking lots. You know, we just, it was kind of a general question.
I know they're hustling, trying to get the trail done, so I don't want to like cross the stream with anything, but
yeah.
just want to
You know, my question to Brooke was about the project.
and he said on time. All right, I'll take it at that.
Yeah. It's you know. Cool. I will probably reach out to Bradley and with UNCC. And you're gonna walk. I guess we can talking to the landowners about access. Maybe it's better to know what we want to do first before we stir the pot too much. But if you happen to be talking to Trevor,
yeah,
you know,
Sure.
you can keep him up to date on what we're talking about. I think that's what we got for action items. Anything else? Cool.
I'm sure we'll think of other things if we sit here longer. That's a lot. That's a lot to do in the next 4 weeks.
Let's stop because it's busting. Yeah. So if there's no other comments, then we'll adjourn the meeting at 7:40. Okay. Wrap the gavel.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.